Yo, welcome to Shaolin Sports. Here we break you down. Local heroes and legend everywhere. The brand, the Ray Palmer and keep bringing each of your ears from Shaolin vibes. We gon' cook our beers. DJ Stevie on the mix. Keep the rhythm tight. From the court to the field, we gon' shine bright. Shaolin Sports. We got the passion. From the streets to the big league, it's the real old fashioned. Tune into the hustle. Feel the drive and pride. On this podcast journey, we'll turn the tide.
Hello, Staten Island, the world. This is Ray Palmer here. We are episode 3, El Primo episode 3 of the Shaolin Sports Podcast. Again, I'm Ray Palmer. To my left, the legendary Peter Timmons. Peachy, welcome back. Episode 3. We made it. They haven't canceled us yet.
I'll tell you what, Doc, I like they went bilingual with that. You actually said tres, which means third episode for those that understand the Spanish language. But I'll tell you what, great introduction, boss.
Well, my starting point guard at Newdorf doesn't speak any English. So I have been versed in the Spanish world over the last few months, and I find it a fun challenge to accept. Shout out to Sergio Batista, having a great season for me. And yes, we don't communicate perfectly, but we communicate beautifully. So, Peach, welcome back. How's it feel? Episode 3, and I think we got a great list of topics for today. What do you think?
I'll tell you what, we're right now sitting on going into the Christmas week, and we have to be so much thankful right now. And I know we have a little thank you at the end, but I'm thankful that we are actually producing something that Stevie O is, I'm going to say, phenomenal what he's doing right now, Doc.
Next level, just from an audio and technical standpoint. As you see right here, we're behind this gorgeous vintage desk and the setup and this everything he's got. We're going to continue to evolve every week, and we hear your people have ideas and stuff. We hear everybody, and we try to incorporate as best we can. Steve's a madman behind the scenes. Peachy and I have the privilege of being the voice and the people in front of the cameras, but believe me, behind the camera, DJ Stevie O. No best in the industry, and I guess there's no other better segue in the best in the industry than arguably the greatest coach in NFL history. Peach has taken his talents and headed to the college ranks, which is the biggest story, I think, of this week in sports.
All right, so looking at this, so we saw a big contract that they gave Bill Belichick, a $10 million a year, whether it's 3 to 5 years, but that's a big number. So my only downfall is when you get the recruits, and I think Bill Belichick is going to treat it as a business. What's your take on that?
I think that the college has become more and more like a business as time has gone on. So it's becoming more and more business-like, and there's no one more business-like in the world than Bill Belichick. I'm also, admittedly, I'm just a huge fan. I just love the way he goes about his business, the antisocial, the answering of the questions, the way he treats the media. I guess we're in media, so maybe I shouldn't like him anymore. But I'm just a massive Belichick fan, and I think if you're a recruit, and, you know, the old school way of recruiting a living room, how do you say no to Bill Belichick if your goal is to play in the NFL?
Do you imagine that gentleman walking into an 18-year-old living room with 6 rings on and be like, come to North Carolina and you'll get this, because Bill Belichick, we agree, he's treating it as a business, not as a student-athlete relationship. He's trying to bring the Tar Heels back to a prestige, go back to Mac Brown, what he did.
And Mac Brown certainly turned it around big time. Only 8 coaches make $10 million per season. So Belichick, not only the $10 million per season, the first 3 years are guaranteed. Okay, so the 3 years gives both the school and him flexibility. Bonuses, ready? I'll go through this as quick as I can. If he wins 8 games in any season, $150K. 9 games, $200K. 10 games, $250. 11 games, $300K. And if he wins 12 games, $350K. Any ACC championship appearance, not also win, just appearing in an ACC championship game, $200K. Winning an ACC championship, $300K. Any bowl game, $150. Elite bowl game, $350. Make the college playoffs, meaning a top 12 team, $750,000. Quarterfinal, $1 million, college football semifinals, 1.25, and making a championship, 1.5, winning a national championship, 1.75. So the money just keeps growing and growing to the point where if Belichick has success, he will be rewarded handsomely financially.
Yeah, listen, he's 71 years old. How much more money do you need when you're guaranteed a certain contract? And I get all the stipulations, but I think just like Gundy at Oklahoma State, he was one of my coaches. Mike Loxley was one of my coaches. Now he's Maryland. So I have two head coaches that I was with at University of Maryland. I think even what Gundy did at Oklahoma State, he restructured his contract to take his money and give it back as an NIL deal or keep it within the college. It's not student athlete anymore. It's now come down to how do we get the best players at our college or our division that we can actually succeed.
I think it's also this Coach Prime like situation, but Dion does it completely different. Forges tight relationship with certain players, and has it more of like a family type business. Where Belichick, I'm not sure he's the guy who's going to put his arm around you and give you a hug. But if you want to play in the NFL, as aforementioned, I mean, there's no better guy than Bill Belichick. And we can't wait to see how he forms his staff, who is offensive, defensive coordinator, special teams, that kind of thing. Peachy, last bonuses, finish in the top 25, $250K. Top 20, $300K. Top 15, $375. Top 10, $425. And finish in the top 5, $500K. Money everywhere, right? Last thing. UNC has not finished in the top 25 since 2020. So that's why he's able to get this money, because UNC is desperate for some success. Mac Brown had success early, hasn't been as good in the last few years. Last thing, $10 million buyout before the season even starts. So there's a buyout in place that kind of opens the door for Belichick to return to the NFL if a situation presents itself. And a lot of people are saying that's why that buyout is there. It opens the door for Belichick. If he wants to leave, he has that opportunity, which if I'm Carolina, I'm not giving him that. I'm surprised they allowed that to occur.
You know what? You got to figure, don't tell me that Michael Jordan's not behind this at all with all the money. Michael Jordan made Nike, made North Carolina basketball. You're trying to tell me that he's not behind this at all to make North Carolina relevant again for every sport?
I can't be sure it's Michael Jordan. I just think it's the University of North Carolina. I mean, the University of North Carolina generates funds, generates money. It's a big-time school. It hasn't been a big-time football school, but certainly has big time in college hoops. And I think that they're trying to join the big time. And there is no more big time than hiring of Bill Belichick. And we mentioned before, we'll see what kind of staff he builds. Will he bring in all NFL guys? Will he mix it with college guys? Who will be his right-hand man? He has to trust somebody. He has to trust someone who's been in the college game before to show him how things are done at that level, and he'll see what he's going to change. But we'll move on from this after your last comments, Pete. For me, I'm a huge fan of this whole thing. I can't wait to watch.
But I also think in my heart that his son might be a part of the back end, that he's there and the son takes over with the Belichick name, just keep the franchise going.
Certainly with success, if you want to have a successor, name your own successor. Say he wins a national championship in year 3.
Which he might.
Well, absolutely. We've seen what, people can do. And North Carolina is not in the dumps. North Carolina's had some rough years, but they've also had a lot of success. So the turnaround can be super duper quick, especially with someone like Bell. I mean, again, Belichick's in your living room. Who's saying no?
I'm not.
I'm certainly not, but I guess not everybody also, they're going to run it like a business. NIL has turned college football into much more of a business than it's ever been. The Texas quarterback, they're saying, is being offered a lot of money from LSU to be a grad to transfer through the portal, play for LSU, make $4 or $5 million to go play for them. I mean, it's become a business, and there's no more business-like approach to coaching than the great Bill Belichick, in my opinion, the greatest coach in the NFL history, trying to make his name in the college.
Doc, I think we ended that. If Bill Belichick walks into your living room and you're 18, even 17, I was 17, being recruited by everybody, you'll be like, you know what? I'm all in. And you want to throw a few dollars at me? Yep, I'm going to North Carolina.
So we're in New York. And in New York, the Giants beat Belichick twice in the Super Bowl, by the way, for any youngsters out there. The 2 Super Bowl losses the Patriots have, Bill Belichick has that, thanks to Eli Manning and the New York Football Giants. Proud to mention that. Anyhow, the New York Yankees, since our last podcast, have made 2 major acquisitions, none bigger than Devin Williams to close. Now, a few weeks ago, I talked about my vision for the Yankees, and I mentioned signing another reliever being critical. Well, they didn't sign, and they traded the guy who wanted to play second base. So they gave up a young stud in Caleb Durbin, And they traded nasty Nestor Cortez, who I will miss. I love Nestor Cortez, innings eater, been injured the last few years off and on, but I think he'll be an effective pitcher throughout. And the kind of guy, in my gut, he'll be back on the Yankees at some point. That's just a gut feeling. But you trade something to get something. So you take nasty Nestor Cortez and a big-time prospect in Caleb Durbin, who's tailing up the Arizona Fall League, right? And you get arguably the best closer in baseball. Now, Met fans will tell you differently because Met fans had a little walk-off action against him in the playoffs. But strike that from the record. 1-0, 1.25 ERA, huge fastball, and a devastating changeup, which will move Luke Weaver into more of a setup role, allow him to grow into the closer's role eventually. Peach, I just think it's an amazing move for the Yankees. Devin Williams, a big-time pick.
You know, and I like the fact that, okay, we discussed Soto getting that big contract, but I love the fact the Yankees are now just trying to piece together, all right, lost Soto. We have a lot of money to spend, and even with like the contracts that we're not even eating, we have tremendous players coming in with a lot of money available that we can go after somebody that maybe we don't even talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot of options out there, and I think there wasn't a lot of talk about Devin Williams. It just happened one day, right? So Cashman doing a good job keeping things quiet, but just look at the Yankees bullpen. It was somewhat of a strength last year, but you're taking essentially replacing Clay Holmes with Devin Williams, and that's like replacing replacing Ray Palmer with Peter Timmons on a football field.
No, right now the Yankees have a very good lineup on the field right now. Give us a couple more, maybe like another middleman that gives us our relievers something to work forward for. But we have a couple position players that we might need. I'm still not against Alonso, and I think the Yankees are playing it smart where they're like, all right, we have a couple of position players that can go center field, second base, third base. But I think if we still go after Alonso at first and we keep the Martian, I think the Martian, he might go to left field. You keep, what do we have? Judge in right. And then we put Bellinger maybe at center, but he also can play first.
Yeah, well, we haven't covered Bellinger. We'll get to Bellinger in a second. But yeah, I think I totally agree as far as the versatility. Also, they signed Jonathan Loizaga back. Loizaga is a top, 99, 100 mile an hour arm. Where they're going to go from the left side, I don't know that we even have a left-handed reliever on the roster right now. So a left-handed reliever, 3 dominant right-handers coming out of the pen. Loizaga, Weaver, and now Devin Williams, and 3 different types of pitchers too, different guys that do it in different ways. So the Yankee bullpen done, right? Successful. So we'll move on to the next acquisition, Cody Bellinger. And $5 million for Cody Petit, a blatant salary dump. The Cubs made a big trade for Tucker, had to clear some space, and the Yankees were the beneficiaries. The talk of it was that the Yankees wanted the Cubs to pay more money. The Cubs didn't want to pay money. So a player like Cody Petit, who had some good moments, but is certainly not anything high end or a high valued prospect. It's a salary dump, Peach. We got Cody Bellinger, a former MVP. Granted, it was 5 years ago, but a former MVP. And yes, they have said he will play center field. At least that's what's rumored to be. Certainly, rumors can just be substantiated at some point or denied. But Cody Bellinger to the Yankees he's a strong defensive center fielder, and yes, strong at first base. Let's just go with the premise of he's playing center field. How do you think that affects the Yankee lineup?
I'll tell you what. Short porch. I love the fact short porch for him. And like you said, he can go center field, he can go first base. But that gives the Yankees a dynamic of saying, all right, we have somebody that could play both positions. Do we need a true first baseman? I firmly believe you do. You can't just go back and forth. And the Yankees, they tend to go different lineups for outfields because that's what they do. But you need a true first baseman that knows the pitcher, they know the catcher, and they know the infield.
Can't have usually LeMahieu playing first base. You can't just plug him over there. That's not an option.
If he even plays, Doc.
Right. I mean, he's on the contract for 2 more years, so I got to imagine he's going to try. So Bellinger, not the sexiest move. This is the pizza place calling. 1 second. We'll take this phone call live. Let's go here. Hello.
Hi, this is Grubhub.
How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I just picked up your order, and I have a question.
Yes.
I have the address which is in my app.
Yeah, the one in the app is wrong. I called the store.
Silver Lake.
You're going to come to the Harvest Avenue address.
Yes, but did you change any? Did you make any changes in the app?
No, I couldn't change it in the app, so I just called the store. Can you just bring it to the Harvest Avenue address? That's where I am right now.
Yeah, of course I can, but let me call. So I will make changes also in the app.
Okay, I'm at the Harvest Avenue.
I will not be able to mark as delivered. You know, if I'm not on the wrong address.
Oh, my apologies, sir. So, but I'm at the Harvest Avenue, so whenever you could bring it here, that would be awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Hold that thought.
All right. Well, ordered our
Hold on. I have to get the wallet. Hold on.
ordered our I don't know what Peachy's doing, but we're getting the ordered the round pie from Round Pie. So Round Pie will be our food review. I didn't change it from my address to the address of Harvest Studios. And there's a little confusion. Apparently, this is like rocket science trying to just change the address. It's a fifth. I called the place, tried to change it, but this day with technology, all those things. Anyway, getting back to Bellinger, there were sexier moves. Santander, Teoscar Hernandez would have been a more, at least in recent years, a better pickup like for the Yankees. And Bellinger also kind of a rental. Bellinger has another year in his contract. Only one more year, another option after that. So Bellinger could go move on to another, after this year, could become a free agent, move on to another team. We don't need that. I think we have someone else who wants to hop in here. Hey, Stevie, are you available? All right. So Stevie, why don't you come in here before Uncle Peachy sits back down, or Peachy sat back down, but Stevie, come on in here. And I want to know what you think. You said you had something to say. Well, Stevie, tell me about Cody Bellinger and your recollection of Cody.
I think he's going to do really good as a Yankee. How much money did he get again?
He's about $25 million for next season.
$25 million a year. I think we're paying him good.
Well, some dynamic breakdown from young DJ Stevie O. You got the Carvel shake? Very nice, my brother. Love to see it. All right. So, player option for next season. We have holes at first base and money to spend, right? We're going to spend all that money on Soto. Pete Alonso and Walker are the obvious ones. Guys like Paul Goldschmidt, Carlos Santana, Pete, there's veterans, like you mentioned, experienced first basemen are available and ready to make things happen. So I personally would love Alonso, would love Walker. A guy like Goldschmidt's a veteran. Carlos Santana, a few different first base options. Who would be your first choice if the Yankees could take one?
Pete Alonso.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I'm just gonna put my foot down and said, he's a New York player. He's a tremendous first baseman. Is he the best hitter? He's a very good hitter, but I think he'd be a perfect fit for the Yankees.
And he's really good scooping ground balls in the dirt. I've always
we talked about the splits, and I offered you $1,000 if you could do a split.
I can't do a split, but Pete Alonso will scoop anything thrown around at first base. So we have to plug first base. Massive hole. If they went Goldschmidt, I love Santana. Santana's got a great glove, too. Wouldn't mind Santana. Had a little resurgence last year. Santana and Goldschmidt would be on the low end. Walker's the one kind of, because I don't know, I'm not familiar with Walker as well.
Well, he's also like, what, 34 years old?
34 will probably be a lot. You're going to just give Alonso a 6 to 7 year contract. You can give Walker a 3 to 4 year contract. So it all balances out.
Actually, I like maybe, listen, Alonso might be the move for me, but a Walker at 34, am I sold? Not really yet.
You know, Walker, 3 years, $90 million, probably something that we're going to do. You know, I think that's something that if we get a chance for him, again, he's strong defensively, big home runs. We'll see. Yankees got to cover first base, second base, or third base, because Jazz can play both. And Jazz plays third base extremely well. But you don't hear much chatter about second base, nor is it a very deep, and you hear no mention to bringing back Gleyber Torres. I think that ship has sailed. Bregman, Peach, keep hearing about Bregman. My personal opinion, not a fan, cheater. Screw the Astros. I want to use a different word. We're trying to be PG over here. I'm not interested in Bregman. How do you feel about Bregman?
No, I'm not a fan at all. And if we get him, you know, like that's maybe Cashman knows more than what we know. But I have no desire to have Bregman with the New York Yankees.
Meanwhile, Bregman signs with the Yankees. I'll be, the happiest person in Staten Island.
Well, I mean, like,
it's all a matter of what perspective.
It's catch-22.
Like the Mets fans with Soto. Every Mets fan, some of them like, I don't want him anymore. The moment they sign him, he becomes God. Well, same thing here. If Alex Bregman comes to the Yankees, great. Nolan Arenado's another one. Former MVP level player. Only problem with Nolan is he has 3 more years on his deal and he's already declining. And Bregman is somebody who, Arenado is someone who's been declining and has a no trade clause and allegedly turned down a trade to the Astros today. The Astros tried to acquire him. They came to an agreement, uses no trade clause. So he may, unless he wants to be in New York, they can't be forced. The trade can't, they can't force. They try to trade him and he doesn't agree to it. He can't go.
That's a lot of money, though.
Yeah, and a lot of years. The Yankees have had success with those kind of guys, like a Scott Brocious type, would be great. Arenado is still great with the glove, but we shall see. So you got to imagine they move Jazz to second base. So Peach and I agree. First base, Alonzo Walker be great. Goldschmidt, Santana be lovely. Third base is a little there's less depth. You start going much deeper down the rabbit hole as far as people goes once you get past Bregman and Arenado. So we shall see. We'll move on to the NFL quickly. This might be a non-story. It's just that when you hear the word high ankle sprain, you picture 4 to 6 weeks of being out. Now, Pat Mahomes, it looked pretty bad the other day. They say he's practicing, but Peach, what's the impact on the on the Chiefs if Mahomes is out for a long period of time?
If you're the Chiefs right now and you're Andy Reid, you got to realize that you're a playoff team. And last year, they traveled to everybody else and they want to win the Super Bowl. So I like, if he sits for 1 or 2 games, I'm fine with that because the Chiefs are in a very good position where they can still, no matter what they do, they're the Chiefs. That's who they are. So I'm not really against them sitting him for a week or 2 if it's a high ankle sprain. I know he practiced, but who knows? And Mahomes is very smart, and so is Andy Reid. If they say, you know what, let's go with the backup, and we still have our entire team that can still win games because their schedule is not tough, they get 1 or 2 games of a win without him playing, they're still right in the mix for a home field advantage.
Yeah, I got to agree. And your backup's a former MVP. Carson Wentz has bounced around certainly since then, but would love to see for a couple of games what can Wentz do if given the keys to what is a proven offense. The offense hasn't been dominant this year either. They've won a lot of games. Certainly the record is as impressive as it is, only the 1 loss, but a lot of one-score games along the way. Mahomes talked about needing some blowouts. So interesting pickup if you're a fantasy guy, fantasy player. Interesting Wentz might be if he gets a start with the Chiefs offense, and I believe Hollywood Brown coming back this week. Interesting play to see what will happen there in Kansas City. Injuries about too with the Lions too, suffering massive injuries across the line in the NFL.
Doc, if you look at the line, I saw the line was 3.5 with the Chiefs. They're anticipating that he's not playing. So if he's not playing, it's not a big deal because their team is so solid, and Andy Reid is just a beast. That's what they do over there. They just know their team can play, and they don't need the best quarterback to execute what their team is.
All right, so let's transition back. Peachy and I, we're now filming. This is a Wednesday night where we're filming this. This will be live soon enough. By mentioning live, YouTube at Shaolin Sports. Please put the at the beginning, otherwise you're going to get some kung fu stuff. Put the at Shaolin Sports, and please click the subscribe button. Become a subscriber. We get 1,000 subscribers, we can go live. We can do a lot more things. DJ Stevie O has a litany of ideas ready to go do things. We can travel. We can go on the road. We can bring the show to you. We can go places, go to businesses. There's a lot of opportunity once we're able to go live on the great YouTube. But we can't do that without subscribers. And old people like Peachy and I'm sorry. What am I sorry for? When everybody says like and subscribe, I hardly ever did it because I didn't really understand. Okay. So on behalf of all middle-aged guys like ourselves, we're sorry. But please still jump in and just hit that subscribe button at Shaolin Sports on YouTube. We need it. It'll help us go further. But right now we're filming them. We're filming on a Wednesday night. NFL starts this weekend. The pizza place calling back. Peach, got to take this. Peach, why don't you talk about your first NFL pick?
All right. So here's what I'm looking at. Now, it's a Saturday game. Now, Pittsburgh is at Baltimore.
Yeah.
Baltimore is laying 6.5, over under 45.5. So I was saying, you know what? Baltimore is a very tough team. So is Pittsburgh. I'm not going to pick a team in that game. No, I looked at the whole schedule for Saturday and Sunday. I was looking at Baltimore minus 6.5, but then I was like, you know what? This over under at 45.5 I think my bet would be the over in that game, where it's not my, say, 5-star luck. I do like the over in that game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I know it's going to be a little chilly, but both these teams know how to play in cold weather. So I'm going to take my first bet of the over in the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game at 45.5, which I think is a reasonable wager where, $20 on it for what it is. I think the cold doesn't matter to those guys. And Doc Palmer, this is a big pie.
Okay, well, listen, as we always do, I'm going to move some things around here, get some space. We're going to bring it back old school. If you remember, I may have done a little stuff
Doc,
on the internet during
we're
COVID.
transitioning from the...
We're going to pause. No transition. We're going to pause the NFL picks. Did you announce one of your picks already?
I took the...
Make that firm. What's your pick? Your first pick?
My first pick is the over in the Pittsburgh-Baltimore game at 45.5. I'm going to take over in that game.
All right. P's first pick is there. Now we're going to stop. We're going to go old school. It's pizza review time. Round pie, Peachy. We've gone basic, and it looks gorgeous. It looks absolutely gorgeous.
That's a very nice pie.
Gorgeous. Okay, so I'm jumping right in, Peachy.
Now, Doc, how long did this take to order, and how long did it take to come?
I pressed the button to send about a half hour ago. We had the delivery snafu, but they got it here. It's still nice and hot, too. I can't complain one bit. A little floppy flop. That's all right. Undercarriage to die for, too. Stevie, you want to get a piece of this? You want to get it? Mm-hmm. We're going to get it. Stevie's going to decline the pizza. He's going to cut back in the cars, but not me. So we're going to go right in.
Me either.
Dead air.
Okay.
Listen. Peach?
Okay. My first opinion. Now, I do like the spatial differential of the sauce to cheese. For me, I'm not a big globber of the sauce, but the taste is very good. Crunch, very good. Cheese, very good. I'm going to go to the back end. Doc, I hear you munching away over there because I know you just had a long night of coaching like myself there with Mr. Kevin Hyden.
Shout out Kev Hyden, middle school coaching legend.
All right.
I'll go first.
I'm ready to, Doc.
I love this. Factor in delivery factor, been in the car for 20 minutes. I mean, fresh will be even better, but I'm going high, Peach. I'm going 8.6. This is an 8.6 pizza. This is fantastic. It's crisp. The way the sauce is distributed doesn't affect my bite. I agree as far as the blobbing. It's probably not what I would first choose, but 8.6. This is excellent pizza.
Okay, I'm gonna say, hold on,
Let's get Stevie a slice over here.
8.6, I gotta get it.
I love it.
Stevie.
Get
Get the big one.
Big dog.
Don't be shy.
Stevie. There we go.
So now I'm a little biased for not being so saucy, and it's gonna be tough. I'm gonna say 8.3 for me. Listen, I gotta be honest. Like, it's a very good piece of pizza, but it's an 8.3.
All right. We're gonna let DJ Stevie O process. We'll get his score in a second.
So now Stevie folded it over. So I didn't do that style. So he actually is getting all the
Stevie had
sauce.
the biggest slice I've ever seen, too.
Yes.
It was a massive slice. So
Well, he just got off for
DJ
work.
Stevie O processing. And while he does that, bonus wing review. Peach, you want to jump in on a wing?
I actually would.
I ordered the wings.
Do we have blue cheese?
No, there's no blue cheese.
Oh
I
my
would've
God!
liked some blue
You know
cheese.
what? I'm gonna say it's a point off.
I don't know if I messed up. I'm not going to blame Round Pie. I may not have pressed the right button or something, but bonus, Buffalo, it says no sauce on the side, but I didn't ask for that. Anyway, I was ordering on the app before the show. I did rush things. It's a plain, it just looks, there's not breaded. It's just one of those good old-fashioned wings that kind of get from the,
Oh no,
you get
it's
from Italian place.
no, it's breaded.
I meant to say not sauce. Basic and good. Crispy, too.
Still crispy as being delivered.
This reminds me of
I wish there's some blue cheese, but I guess it takes away from the flavor from what I'm eating.
I don't even want the blue cheese. There's not much spice to them. There's really good plain chicken wings here.
All right.
I'll go 7-9. I'm going quick. 7-9. We'll get the food review and we'll move on to the rest of our stuff here. But I'm going 7-9 the food review. I love a plain chicken wing. Reminds me of beer garden chicken wings. We had the beer garden wings back in the day. Very similar. Peach, what are you going on chicken wing?
7.6.
7-6.
You know what? Oh, listen, I'm not a big breaded guy. I like the naked taste of a wing where the breading kind of kills it. And it wasn't too spicy. I wish there was more flavor to it.
Yeah.
There was really nothing to it. So I'm going to give it a 7.6, which I think is a fair thing for what I'm saying. I'm not a big wing guy, but I'm not a 7.9, but still a very good flavor.
All right, well, we got DJ Stevie O. So we've heard the pizza review. Now we got to hear DJ Stevie O on the pizza. What we got, DJ Stevie O?
Let me make sure these levels are correct. All right, so when I base pizza, there's 2 places on the planet I base it on, which are Joe and Pat's and Danino's. They are the 10s. They are the best in the world. And L&B gets a 3rd from me. This has a hint of Joe and Pat's. The sauce is fantastic. Amazing sauce. It's not quite Joe and Pat's. Nothing will ever be. But I'm not going to kill it too much. I'm going to go with a straight 8. Straight 8.
Straight 8.0. So, hey, three scores in the 8 from this crew is not easy to get. So, shout out to Round Pie Pizza. Again, we have no affiliation. I don't know anyone that works at Round Pie. We have no horse in the race. Just order from a local business. And 3 scores in the 8s. Hopefully, our viewers will go out and go check out some Round Pie out there. All right, Peachy gave his first pick of the day. I'm going to give mine, and we're going to stick in that Kansas City game. Now, I don't know who the quarterback for the Chiefs will be, nor do I know exactly how the Texans offense has been struggling in recent weeks, right? With Stroud, he's kind of been, I don't know if Stroud's taken a step back this season, but he certainly hasn't taken a step forward. But I'm going to go over in that game. Texans and Chiefs over the 41.5. I just think, whether it's Carson Wentz or Patrick Mahomes, they'll find a way to move the ball against an average Texans defense. And just more of if anything, just a gut feeling. I'm going to take that as my first pick of the week. Texans Chiefs over the 41.5. I'll make my second pick, Peach, and then we'll go back to you. I'm taking the Bengals. I'm laying the 7.5 over the Browns. The Browns quarterback situation is a mess. I'm a big fan of Jameis Winston, but he looked like a lost child on the field last week. They're playing the 3rd string. I'm not sure if Winston's going to start again. The 3rd string's guy going to start again. Does not matter. Bengals will look good, and the Bengals put points on the board. So Bengals lay the 7.5. Bengals over Browns. That's my second pick of the week. NFL.
You know, I think this is a sucker bet where I see Detroit laying 6.5 at Chicago. But once again, I think it's going to be another high-scoring game. I'm going to go another over with Detroit at Chicago. I'm going to say over the 47.5.
I like that. I like that play. 49ers are a pick'em versus the Dolphins. The 49ers need this one, all right? I'm just a bigger believer in the 49ers than I am the Dolphins. I'm a big believer in Mike Shanahan than I am in the Dolphins coach, who I can't think of, the weird dude. Mike something, can't think of his name. But I'm going 49ers. They're a pick'em right now. Give me the 49ers beating the Dolphins this weekend.
Okay, so the Rams are giving 3 to the Jets. It's going to be 27 degrees on paper. You go to MetLife Stadium, and that 27 degrees is actually like 12 degrees. And I don't think the Rams are ready to actually play in that cold weather. Now, the Jets come off, they lost by 6 in overtime 2 weeks ago. They had a big win last week where they could have just kneeled on it and just said, "No, what, game over." And I'm going to take actually the Jets getting the 3 at home, because what does it matter if the Jets are either the 9 pick or the 14 pick? Because they have the money to trade up whatever they want to do anyway.
Yeah, I don't think Jets are playing positions, draft positions right now. These are veterans trying to play for contracts, coaches coaching for their jobs. So, yeah, certainly, I don't think draft, you're right, 9th pick, 14th. Now, the Giants are a different story. I think, some of the Giants may be going a different way. My next pick, the Cowboys and the Bucks. This would be my lock of the week, over the 48.5. Send it. The Cowboys will find a way to score points. The Buccaneers, whether it's pick sixes or the other way around, the Buccaneers will find ways to put points on the board. Big believer in that over-under. Lay that over-under, 48.5, Cowboys, Bucks.
All right, so then I'm just going to say Buffalo minus the 14 versus the Patriots. I think the Buffalo Bills probably beat them by 30-something points because give the 14. I know might want to scare somebody. Patriots have no reason to play, and I'm actually going to go double up with that. I think Buffalo minus the 14 is a lock. And you know what? I think Atlanta minus the 8.5 versus the Giants, who don't even want to play anymore. I'm going to go double lock up parlay right now. Buffalo minus the 14 and Atlanta minus the 8.5. That might be my two big small wagers this week.
I'm going last one for me. I'm also laying a heavy favorite. Packers over the Saints. Saints without much to play for. Trouble with the quarterback position. Packers look really good. They're on that verge, on that second tier, I think. So I'm laying the 14 with the Packers. So I'll review my picks quickly and then Peach will review his. I have the Chiefs Texans over 41.5. I'm laying the 7.5 with the Bengals over the Browns. 49ers are a pick 'em over the Dolphins. I'm going Cowboys Bucks over the 48.5, and I'm going Packers minus 14 over the Saints.
All right, so recap mine. I'm going to take the over in the Baltimore game at 45.5. I'm going to take the over in the Chicago game 47.5. I'm going to take the Jets minus the 3 plus the 3. I'm going to give Buffalo. I'll give. They want to say minus 14. I'll give minus 18. I'll take Buffalo that. And I'll take Staten Island Pee Wee Boys football versus the Giants, which we'll call Atlanta Falcons, minus 8.5 versus the Giants.
And Michael Penix getting the start there for the Falcons. So that would be interesting, making his NFL debut. And this team's still in the playoff race. All right, moving on to the college game. Peach, first game of the weekend's Notre Dame. I am taking the over. Give me the over in the Notre Dame game. Peach and I are all going to pick all 4 games for Saturday college football. Where are you with Notre Dame, Peach? I am taking the over. I will never take Notre Dame as a favorite, just as someone who's gambled a lot, Notre Dame fan. Betting Notre Dame as a favorite, in my opinion, is a losing situation. But give me the over in the game. Both offenses can score. Notre Dame certainly knows how to put points on the board.
No, and you know what? I think Notre Dame minus the 7 points right now. I think if you really have the schedules, the two
schedules,
if you have the schedules, you lay the wood on Notre Dame minus the 7 at home, and that place is going to be rocking in South Bend. I don't think Indiana has a shot in a million years to beat this game.
How would you spell schedules?
It's a lot of vowels.
A lot of vowels. Probably S's and C's, right? All right. Peach, who do you got? SMU, Penn State. 8.5. SMU, Penn State's laying 8.5 SMU.
I'll give the 8.5. I don't think SMU at Penn State has any shot in the world, but if you ever played in Penn State or if you ever seen a game, they packed that 120,000 stadium, and Penn State is just going to be completely dominant up in front, and I think they win by 24.
I'm laying it. I'm laying with SMU. I think SMU has
laying it, or taking it?
I'm taking.
Yeah. You got that thing for me?
What thing? Oh, Nicky, I thought you was laying.
I was laying. No, I'm taking it. I was taking it.
Taking 8.5. Correct. Sorry. Thank you, Peach. Taking SMU plus 8.5 over Penn State. More of a gut feeling than anything else. I can't claim to be an expert to have watched a ton of SMU football or Penn State football this season. Shout out to the Benfields. I know the Benfields are big Penn State fans, and they're probably upset with me and happy with Peachy right now. But SMU, I'm going to take the 8.5. It's a bowl game. They're conference champs. They're playing for something. They won some games this year. I'm just going to take the 8.5. I'm also going to take the points with Clemson. Clemson, give me Dabo getting 12. That's my logic. I have nothing else behind that. Dabo's getting 12. I'm taking Dabo and Clemson plus 12 with Texas.
You know what? I actually agree with you with that. I think 12 points in that game is a lot. I think it's going to be a mid-score game. I'm going to say maybe like a 28-17, and it can go either way. I think Clemson has a very good team. I think they're on a roll. Texas, they're hit or miss. Their offense is good. Their defense can be good, but I like the minus 12 that Texas is given, so I'm going to take Clemson that game with you, Doc.
All right, so we agree there. And Ohio State, Tennessee, Peachy, I'm going with the over-under, and I'm taking the worst bet in football, at least the least fun to watch. If you're watching a game, you can always win the under. I mean, excuse me, you could always win the over. The game can go to overtime. You could always win an over. If you have the over, you're always in play. If you have the under, it could be over in the first quarter.
Yeah, I was never an under guy because I was never rooting for defense because it's like watching like a no-hitter in baseball.
Sure.
Does anybody want to watch guys just throwing the ball back and forth? I was always an over player.
But if I'm going to take the bets, I'm taking that under 46. Two tough defenses. Ohio State, Tennessee, bowl game pressure, the last game of the weekend. I'm going to take a little barn burner, a little 21-17 type contest. Definitely under the 46. That's my college football lock of the week. Take the under of 46, Ohio State, Tennessee.
All right, so I'm going to go with Tennessee in that game because I do like the fact that you like the under. But I think if, like you said, it was 21-17, I think Tennessee keeps that game very close. And I like Tennessee in that game getting that points.
All right. There's our picks. So I have Notre Dame over 51, SMU getting the 8.5, Clemson getting the 12, and I like the under in Ohio State, Tennessee. Moving over, we're going to go to high school basketball. We've had 3 podcasts and 3 mentions of Alonzo Archibald. We're biased. I know his dad pretty well. Had the pleasure of knowing.
No, Doc, we're non-biased.
Well, I am a little biased. I am. I'm just admitting it. I am a huge fan of Alonzo Archibald. It has nothing to do with his basketball abilities. I just like the young man, having had a chance to be a teacher in the same school and getting to know him a little bit. Alonzo Archibald, Peachy, if you don't know, I don't know, we didn't talk about this much. Scored his 1,000th point the other day, 6 games into his junior season. Very, very incredible accomplishment for a very, very special young man.
Doc, I was looking at like the season totals of like the 1,000-point scorers and everything else that goes on. Look at Kyle McAloney. We're going years back. And look at the young St. Pete, the Susan Wagner young lady. I forget her name off the top of my head.
Nicole Melios.
Right. What did she have? Like almost...
She 3,000 points.
Something ridiculous.
And missed the season with COVID, mind you. Nicole Melios statistically is the greatest player of all time.
You look at 1,000 points going into 6 games in your junior year. Tremendous. Now, does he want... That's 500 points a season. Does he want to finishing up with, like 2,500 points? Possibly. But at the same time, 1,000 points, 6 games into your junior year, that is something that like you don't see often.
Couldn't happen to a better kid, honor student. I'm going to say it again. I'll say it every podcast, bring this kid up. You college coaches out there, I'm calling Scully schools, right? Scully schools. Don't know if you're calling, but you better be. You better go to that Archibald living room. You better go sit down with that family and try and sell your school and get that young man signed up now before he becomes too big for your organization. Get him some nil money and get that kid signed. He is having a fantastic season. Curtis now 2-2 and then that tough 4A division. They're sitting in second place. So Curtis, and then if you're unfamiliar, we'll remind you again here in Staten Island, Curtis and Wagner are in a different division in the PSAL. They're in a division where they play other schools that traditionally have great seasons. Very tough division. Susan Wagner started out strong, beat a tough South Shore team. Now, we don't mean South Shore of Staten Island. We mean South Shore, actually a school. I believe they're in Queens.
South Shore's in Brooklyn, no?
Are they in Brooklyn? I was kind of making that up. Not really sure where they're from.
Well, it's one of the 5 boroughs.
Certainly one of the 5 boroughs. Anyhow, Wagner played them for the second time this season in about 2 weeks, which is very odd. A scheduling quirk that I'm not a fan of. As a coach, whether I win or lose the first time, I want some time to prepare and watch some film and really develop my team. If I lose the first game, I want to develop my team and find the holes and watch the film to play them a second time. And if I win the first game, I want to watch to see what we could do to make sure we do it again. And I just think 2 weeks is odd. But anyway, Wagner lost at South Shore. So Wagner fell to 2-3 in the division. Curtis at 2-2. Curtis sits in second place. So in that division, I believe anyone over 500 in the division gets in. So both teams fighting to make that 4A playoffs. In the boys A division, my Newdorf Centrals remain atop the division. Big win over Petrides. A few guys missing, and it showed. Alex not playing. Alex Perpero's been the starting quote-unquote big man. I mean, he's probably about 6 foot, 180 pounds. Has the best hair in the history of Staten Island. Now, I'm sticking with it. Go watch a Newdorf game. Can't think what number Alex is, but he'll stand out. His hair is just tremendous. He was missed the other day. Other guys stepped up. John Frank played extremely well in the minutes, maybe replacing Alex. New Dorp 5-0, and we head into, and I say we because I do coach at New Dorp. Big matchup on the varsity level versus Port Richmond to go for an undefeated in the PSCL first half. So, rooting for our guys, and I'll have to plug my own JV. We're doing the same thing, rooting for a win over Port Richmond, give us an undefeated first half on the JV level as well. But nobody cares about JV, and I'm well aware of that. So, New Dorp on top of the A division, closing fast is Charlie Donahue and those McKee Staten Island Tech Seagulls. You can never hold Charlie down for too long. Only losses to the New Dorp team. Got some guys back. Charlie always seems to find a way to make it work. He's had a massive injuries. He was talking to me all about it, but here he is, Charlie Donahue. He's going to be the all-time leading winner when it's all said and done. And Peachy's had his team peaking at the right time.
You know, Doc, at one point we're going to have all the coaches on. You know, like the top coaches in Staten Island, and it's South Shore, North Shore. But Charlie Donahue always, regardless of what he loses and what he gains, the coaching makes a huge difference of how your team performs for what it is. And Coach Donahue is always right in the mix, no matter what.
All right, so Tottenville remains the girls' A division, PSCL. New Dorp with a huge win tonight. I happened to be at the game, watched the end of it after our practice. Big win for New Dorp to move to 4-1. Tottenville sits at 5-1. So mathematically, Tottenville now still in first place at 5-1. New Dorp at 4-1 in the girls' A division. In the first matchup, Grace Anderson had 27 points, including 5 threes. Beat a New Dorp team that was a little bit undermanned, missing a few players. Today, New Dorp had a total team game. And the greatness of Jordana. Jordana's a special player over here for the New Dorp Centrals. Big game for New Dorp today. The win puts them at 4-1. So 4-1 New Dorp in the girls, 5-1 Tottenville. Looks like they'll be the top of the PSCL A division, with some other schools I'm sure willing to, possibly work their way in as the season develops, right? Move on to the ladies division. Moore Catholic sits on top of the standings of the Tier 2 CHSAA. The Catholic League is very confusing to me, but Moore is 4-0 in the division, 6-0 overall. Big win over Kennedy Catholic, so shout out to the Mavericks on fire. They beat defending champions of the whole city, at least of their division in the CHSAA, Kennedy Catholic. Big win this week. Emma Bruno Dunn, the daughter of the great Rose Bruno, 20 points and a huge win over the defending champs. Brianna Caleri was named Player of the Week for the second consecutive week, Peach. And you know about the Moore Mavericks, your daughter attends. So it seems like Moore and Notre Dame, because Notre Dame's right behind them, they're on a collision course for a big matchups in January as far as who's going to finish the top that CSSA Tier 2 division.
Well, you got to understand, it's always been St. Joseph Hill, C, Moore, and what was the other team you mentioned, Doc?
Notre Dame, I suppose.
Notre Dame. Like, they're always the top 4 that play. And if you ever went to a women's varsity game, they sell out before men's basketball because it is so beautiful to see these women play the game with tenacity, with passion, and the coaches are so it's all in. And if you don't understand what all in means, if you don't see what yourself is as a high school player, these coaches make sure their players are all in. Like, you understand that, right, Doc?
Oh, absolutely. And it's a byproduct of, a lot of Staten Island. We do things right here, with JV varsity, feeds to one another. And the girls' game has never been more popular. Moving on to Tier 1, the CHSAA C is the only team in the Tier 1 division. C is playing, and they are playing, I really much love and respect to see ladies basketball. They are playing a tough non-league schedule. Now, my guy Danny Melios, who's connected to the girls' game, tells me they started 0-2, but they're playing dynamite teams, trying to get them ready for their league schedule. They haven't played a league game yet. But here's the beauty of it. The President's Cup, the tournament that started last year, it puts C and Moore or Notre Dame, depending on who wins that matchup, on a collision course for that President's Cup. That would be a high level, a lot of scholarship players, big time women's basketball game. If during the President's Cup, if we can get a Moore matched up with C or C matched up with Notre Dame or any of those combinations, 3 really talented teams. And sure, we're only mentioning a few. It's early in the season. You never know who can be a dark horse and turn things on.
Doc, when we spoke the first time we did a podcast, we said we want women's sports, we want men's sports, and we're going to showcase every bit of it for what it is. I know like other people have podcasts, they can do what they want, but I don't think anybody's going to realize what we do as Shaolin Sports. We make sure that the entire Staten Island is covered, and we broadcast for what we are to make sure everybody gets a little shout out for what it is. We are keeping it very simple. We don't know personally the other coaches, but we are making sure that Shaolin Sports covers everything from North Shore, South Shore, Mid Island. Even if we have to go to Jersey, other teams playing our Staten Island teams, we are going to cover all bases for what it is.
Yeah, some coaches I know, I'm not as breast in the women's game, so please shout out to Rose, the legendary coach Rose Bruno. I shot her a text today to get me my updates, and Danny Melios helped me out on the girls. And anybody that wants to reach out to me, please feel free. Reach out to me or Peachy directly. We want to make sure we cover the ladies and the men equally. All right, Peach, we're gonna go. Did you know? I'd like to go first. Our weekly "Did You Know" segment. Okay, so I learned this over the offseason. A good friend of mine, Classy Dave. His daughter was going to a school, and I said, well, why is she going there? And he said, well, the school she wanted to go to already has a pitcher. Peachy, and you know, your daughter's such a great softball player, and CBO, I don't know if you know.
But she doesn't play anymore.
Well, she's still a great softball player. Did you know that unlike in boys baseball where the pitch count and you can only throw a certain amount of pitches one day, a female that pitches underhand or anyone that throws underhand can pitch every day? A high school girls softball team can have one pitcher. You can pitch every inning of every game, and there's no problem about it because of the natural throwing motion. I never knew that. I find it baffling.
Because they're saying it's not taking much out of your shoulder. Now, even in Little League, they have a pitch count. Like Stevie, like you may know more than me. It might be like 75 pitches in a Little League game, but you're allowed to throw underarm. What Doc said, any amount of pitches at any game. So if you're that premier player, like say like Jordan Felsey, like at Moore, like she's at Wisconsin now, she could pitch all day, every day. But you go to Snug Harbor in the 9-10-year-old game, and they can only pitch a certain amount. And then if they go over that amount, they can't pitch. Like in the Little League All-Stars, like there's a pitch.
There's numbers. You say if you throw 60 pitches, you have to take 3 days off.
Right.
Anything above that, 4 days. And there's a strategy to it. You have a kid out there with a 5-run lead. You maybe take him out so he can pitch sooner after that. But that's what the boys, for good reason, to protect their arms. I just find it fascinating with the young ladies based on the throwing motion that a pitcher can just pitch every game. I think it's great.
And by the way,
you always have your best out there.
You know what? I will say this, Stevie and Doc, if you went against one of these great pitchers like right now in high school, and I can mention a few. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the names. I'm not going to say them yet. I have to with their families. But if you could actually get a hit off one of these pitchers in softball, you know what? I'll buy the whole family whatever dinner you want.
That'd be a fun segment. We got to set up in the future. I would strike out. I would strike out 3 pitches. I would probably go down looking.
They'll throw you a breakable
young
ball.
Felsey in that mound and me in the batter's box. You will see one scared old man in that box. All right, Peachy, can you give me a "Did you know," please? We'd like a "Did you know" from Peachy T.
All right, so here's the aggravation. So about a month ago, maybe not a month ago, I found myself in the back sticks of Sheepshead Bay, and I purchased a kitty. So the family and myself were like, let's bring something else in the house. Every family needs a pet.
I'm going to jump in a little, and I can tell you, I heard the price. Whoa.
Right.
This is not your average
So
kitty.
now here's what's frustrating. On Sunday night, New York State passed the law. Did you know that there is no more cats, dogs, or rabbits for sale at any pet store in New York State?
24. They approved 24 in the entire state. I saw that today. 24.
Right. In New York State.
In all the state. Yes. Buffalo, everywhere. 24.
Right. So I purchased this Junior. Very good cat. It's a snuggle bunny. But I'm looking like, should I have just waited not knowing this lore and just said, you know what? Let me save a few dollars and actually get the cat at a reasonable price instead of spending, half a car payment. A real car payment, like something
mortgage
disgusting.
payment, more like I've heard that number. That number's high.
Ray, I'm trying to keep it simple.
It's higher. I don't undersell yourself. PG works hard, and Peachy's wife works very hard, and they provide their family with a very, very expensive cat.
Listen,
It makes me. I'm giving out you, and it's not my cat.
but listen, Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang was $500. I got it from a guy, from a guy. I could have bought 7 Wu-Tangs for the price of your cat.
I wouldn't pass up anything, but I was like, should we just waited 3 weeks? I didn't know, but whatever it is. But imagine that. I don't know. I don't understand the rabbits. I don't understand the whole theory. Rabbits are compared with dogs and cats.
I had a rabbit growing up, most useless pet you could ever imagine. It just poops and pees. It doesn't do anything.
Doc, I had a turtle. It got ran over in the middle of the street
and lived, right?
No, it got ran over, Doc.
Sometimes those turtles, those shells are hard, man. They can survive.
I'm still traumatized. It got ran over, but you could buy a rat.
Why was your turtle outside?
Because it got out away from the tree. I don't know, Doc. I was
belong in tanks, Peach. Would you have it on the
No, it was around the tree.
Yeah,
my mother didn't want in the house. I was like, what do you want to do? I'm not going to.
You had a pet that wasn't allowed in the house? That's a rough one.
Well, the fact that it got that fast, it got into the middle of the street. I can't imagine what the hell.
It's been a rough life with living with a young teenage Peachy if you wanted to run out and basically commit suicide.
Imagine you could buy a rat and a hamster and a ferret and everything else, but you can't buy a dog, cat, and weird enough rabbit.
Well,
why the rabbit, Doc?
I hated the rabbit. It wasn't mine. My brother had it. At one point, its name was Daphne. Then they found it was a boy. His name became Bugs. And I would walk past, maybe sneeze. It was just pointless. It didn't do anything. It just kind of sat there, and it pooped nonstop. Just little tiny like sunflower seed like pellets. Pointless. I didn't enjoy it. So, Peach, we're adding a new segment to close the show today. It's called a thank you segment. We take it serious. You can be sentimental, which I think the route I'm going to go today, or you can take it any way you'd like. But Peach, we're going to start with you. Our thank you segment. Who would you like to thank? Or what? Or anything. But your thank you.
Well, I'm going to thank this. Going into Christmas week, I want to thank the opportunity to have this podcast be created by Stevie O. I want to thank my family for support. I want to thank everybody that is understanding what it is to be struggling. We are really not struggling, but we're struggling to get things up and running. But to understand the reality of life, we all go through adversity and trials and tribulations for everything. So I'm going to give my thank to the families that struggle every day to make their families and their children understand that life is not easy. And if you give them the right backbone in life for what it is, I'm thankful for all the families that know how to do that right. And that's my thank you. And God bless everybody for listening. And God bless everybody that understands the struggles in life. And we will persevere and get through everything.
Now, Peach, you're going pretty deep. I'm going to go with human being. I played high school basketball at Curtis for legendary Tim Gannon. Our athletic director was Richie Potter, and Richie Potter is still somehow assistant athletic director Monsignor Farrell. I've lived most of my life trying to emulate him as a coach, as a parent, even though I'm not a parent, but I am a parent to Wu-Tang, and still hold out hope that we might be able to get a human out of me at some point. As a coach, as a parent, as an educator, as a spouse, I just saw a lot, and I got to really, I was his JV coach when he was the varsity coach at Curtis, and I just wanted to give a thank you to Richie Potter. He is somebody who I truly idolize. I'll tell a quick story that I'm sure I could start crying immediately thinking of just stuff he's done for me over the years, but he runs a very expensive SAT prep class, and the great Lawrence Bora was a player of mine at McKee, and I wanted Lawrence to do well in the SAT, and it ended up working out. So I said, Coach, I want to send Lawrence to this class, and he said, all right, Ray, well, he gave it to me at a fraction of what the cost was, but that number was still a pretty substantial number, a few $100, nothing crazy, but I got the money. I paid it. Got the money over to Timmy Hines. We all worked together. Somehow we paid for the course. I don't remember exactly. And I went to give Coach the money, and Coach looked at me and just said, "Is there a team fee for the kids?" And I was like, "Yeah, we charge a couple $100 so the kids get their sneakers and they want stuff." He goes, and Coach gave me the money back and said, "Give it to Lawrence, pay his fee." Just the kind of guy he is, the kind of guy he remains. When I worked with him at Curtis as a teacher, when I worked with him as a coach, when he was my assistant coach, he's just the greatest human I've ever encountered. He's quick, he's witty, he's learned how to text. And I want to say thank you, Coach. There's a lot of what I do as a teacher, what I do as far as being prepared, certainly on the basketball court, And I remember, I'm babbling, but I remember being, that 12th man, that 11th, 12th man on a high school basketball team. And usually at the end of games, at the end of games, you don't get paid attention to as much. You're in there, the coaches are kind of wrapped up and they just want to get the game over with. I would always hear something from Coach Potter, even if it was the end of a 40-point blowout of a baseline screen I set, or good job setting my feet, or whatever it was, the smallest thing, a defensive rotation. And I'm proud to say, I hope I keep him proud, because I will always coach during blowouts, and I will always recognize kids, and I will hold kids accountable for 32 minutes. They don't always love it, but because of Richie Potter, I coach kids for 32 minutes, and I think a lot of what I am is from him. So thank you, Coach Richie Potter. And that is going to wrap up El Primo Número 3, the third episode of the Shaolin Sports Podcast. We are in Harvest Studios. Shout out to Round Pie. Big scores. 8s all around for Round Pie Pizza. The wings were crispy and delicious. Shout out to the Odessa family. There is a tray of brownies in front of us. And we're about to crush these things down and finish this night off. So, Peachy, thank you for joining us. I'm Ray Palmer. This has been the third episode of the Shaolin Sports Podcast. Stay tuned. More broadcasts, more sporting events, more stuff. That's the timer going off. We'll see you next time from Shaolin Sports.
Yo, welcome to Shaolin Sports. Here we break it down. Local heroes from legend everywhere. The brand, the great Palmer and keep bringing heat to your ears. From Shaolin vibes, we gon' cook our fears. DJ Stevie on the mix. Keep the rhythm tight. From the court to the field, we gon' shine bright. Shaolin Sports, we got the passion. From the streets to the big league, it's the real old fashion. Tune into the hustle, feel the drive and pride. On this podcast journey, we'll turn the tide.
All right, that concludes this week's podcast with Ray and Pete alongside DJ Stevie O here in Harvest Studios. Thank you for tuning in. Quick reminder, tomorrow night I will personally be DJing at Jody's Club Forest on Forest Avenue. That's Friday night, December 20th. Tune in next week for episode 4. We'll see you then.